Hello and welcome back. Now, this is step 3, scripting your video for views. Scripting videos, there's been great debates waged about scripting, just like real estate scripts, but definitely for video scripts on word for word scripts versus bullet point scripts and which one is better. And I'm of the belief that it's really up to you. Which one is better to you? Me personally, I like bullet points. Anytime that it's word for word, I'm continually like rethinking and doubting myself and looking at it and going up and down. Even doing these presentations, you'll probably notice I go down because it's a PowerPoint, and if I don't say the right thing, you'll know because the word pops up, right? So I'm constantly doing that as opposed to video is all about making eye contact with that little black dot on there on the record, right? So I personally like bullet points, but in a thing like this, it's kind of hard because I want to make sure that I get everything exactly right. Some people need word for word scripts, and you got to get into teleprompters and all that stuff. It's up to you, but play around with it. I started out word for word on memorizing. It just got too cumbersome until eventually I'm like, look, what am I going to talk about? I'm going to freeform it, right? So rather than focusing on how to write the script, I'm going to be really focusing on what should be in the script and ultimately your video, and it's up to you to find out what's the right way for you. So really, when it comes to video, I've really thought of there's 5 steps to create a great video. Step 1 is captivate. You have to grab somebody's attention, captivate them. Most people are finding your videos, the first ones to see it are off of those short form attention grabbing if they're not already in their network. But even if they're already in your network, you got to captivate people. You got to grab their attention. Number 2, you got to communicate. Number 3, you got to give them the content you promised them. You have to then provide context to that content, and then you got to give them a call to action. Yes, they're all C's. I try to come up with something clever. Alliteration, we all love it. It's easier to remember, right? The overarching theme to the script or any video creation at all is if you're boring, you're broke. I heard this quote one time on a podcast. I wrote it down. I don't remember who it was, but I thought it was awesome, right? Attention is the most valuable resource, and it is the most fleeting. A lot of people think, well, it's free content. Shouldn't they watch it? Nothing is free. Everyone's attention is being vied for. These companies are spending billions upon billions of dollars to try to grab our attention, right? It's the most valuable resource right now. So make sure you're doing a great job grabbing and keeping their attention. So let's talk about Captivate. This is the most important part of the video. I look at captivating kind of like curb appeal of a home, right? If they don't like the look of the house from the outside, from the front, they're never going to get inside to take advantage of all the great other things that you've done. It's like those clients who are like, they have a horrible front yard, but they're thinking about spending $100,000 in their backyard, and you're like, look, like, if nobody gets through the front door, it doesn't matter how awesome the backyard is. So again, it's captivating somebody, hooking their attention right off the bat is just like the curb appeal of a home, right? Most important part, according to Facebook, people spend 1.7 seconds on average on a piece of content before scrolling to the next one. Insane. It used to be thought of the 3-second rule. According to this report by Facebook, 1.7 seconds we have to grab somebody's attention before they go next. TikTok, apparently, it's even quicker. I've seen my wife scrolling on TikTok. She doesn't even do half a second. I'm like, how the heck can you even do that? Right? The initial windows where you grab their attention, vitally important, right? The audience, if they don't get past this, nothing else matters, right? So the rest of the video, you could spend hours upon hours doing all cool, choppy editing. If you bore them in the first 1.7 seconds, they're done, right? This is not where you introduce yourself, or anything like that. This is where you hook their attention to make them feel like they're in the right spot. It's not where it's, hi, my name's Jacob Lawler, and welcome to this 30-second video on this. Boom, you're already done, right? It's what about hooking their attention? Why should they be here? There's really 4 main ways to grab attention. This was really cool when I learned this formula. Number 1, props, right? Unexpected or oversized work well, right? Something that's not expected, like fire that comes up, right? A lot of people add that in post, or editing, right? But I found that just doing it naturally is great. Like you could buy on Amazon, like I used to have them over here, but like you could buy like funny little glasses, you could buy oversized playing cards, you could buy lots of cool stuff. Part of the props department, right, is doing that. Number 2, the environment. If it's a notable location that grabs attention, like if you're by a waterfall, if you're by something that the people of the community will connect with, right? It'll grab their attention of, oh, hey, he or she is right by a place that I know about, right? Also, camera movement, right? Spinning or spinning into the area or zooming in or zooming out or anything like that. Any sort of movement, it automatically grabs somebody's attention. Or giving a captivating headline or hook. In the last video, I went over 90 different ones that you can use, as well as a 10-step formula in order to how to build your own. But that's the fourth way on how to do it. So let's talk about communicate, right? Communicate who you are, what you do, and why they should keep watching, right? The hook grabs their attention, but this should reinforce their decision to keep watching. It should be in congruence with the original hook, but continue to draw them in. And this is where it is appropriate that you can introduce yourself and your brokerage if necessary. But even if it's like, hey, this is Jacob and I'm here with blah, 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 right? Because again, we're thinking about short form video on the most part. You can still do this on long form. Longer form, you have a little bit more leeway, but on short form especially, keep it short and to the sweet, right? Here's a good formula. I help X do Y, so that's Z, right? I help brand new first-time home buyers find their first home so they can finally leverage the power of real estate, right? Or I help insert your area, like I help Orange County homeowners get the most amount of money out of their house so they can finally live the life of their dreams, or whatever it is that you do, right? It's a good idea to tie the hook into the end of your intro so you don't lose your audience, right? Like, this is the most insane shower I've ever seen in my entire life, blah, 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 right? Or like, boom, hi, I'm Jacob, and I'm here at the craziest shower I've ever seen in the last decade of real estate sales, right? Or whatever it is. It's tying the hook into your introduction, right? Then step 3 is the content. This is where you fulfill on the promise of your video, like whatever, like you actually show them the crazy shower or whatever it is that you were there to talk about, right? This is where you deliver the content in a structured, succinct way. You don't want to be rambling, whatever. Like, have a purpose, execute on the purpose, right? It's helpful to have a framework. I personally like lists. Lists are easy for me just because if I have 3 things to talk about, boom, check off, check off, check off, right? I found that for short form, there should be no more than 3 points of the discussion. Ideally, 1 or 2. Like, you shouldn't be doing like the 10 tips to move to Arizona, and it's like 60-second long, and you're like, number 1, boom, 2, boom, 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 boom. It's like, it's too much, right? Longer form video, you could do more, but don't go overboard, right? Then context, right? This is the part where you bring your value. Like, this is your differentiator, right? Between an average agent just sharing an article or sharing information and a true professional. This is where you share the what does it mean for me as a homeowner or as the audience, right? This is where you can put your own perspective on the data, like on the content. Like, I know it says this, but this is what I'm seeing and this is my opinion. It's often forgotten about. Usually we just like to share the content and move forward, but this is really where you bring your value. This is where they remember you as an authority, as a resource, or someone that they should listen to, right? And then number 5, the call to action. This is where you tie everything together and tell the audience what you want them to do next. Believe it or not, unless you tell people to do things, they won't do things, right? Oftentimes I used to hear from agents when I would train and mentor, they'd be like, well, don't they know I'm a real, no, you got to tell them what to do, right? So what do you want them to do? Do you want them to like the video, share it with their friends, contact you for help? Tell them to do so. Don't just assume that they're going to do it. Be explicit with them. I don't want to overcomplicate it, so I'll leave it at that. The only one thing I will add on there is you'd be surprised at how little people will take action unless told to do so. Make sure that every single video has a purpose. Make sure that every single video that there is a reason for them or something for them to do afterwards. Even if it's watching another video, like link them to another video or tell them to visit your website or tell them to share that with 2 friends or comment down below or like. Always think at the end, did I tie everything together and did I tell them to do something? Because believe it or not, people do want to be told what to do, right? So make sure that you download the scripting matrix down below. I have all the 5 steps where you can write it down right there on a form so you're never looking at a blank page ever again. So you got the 90 sample headlines, the 10-step formula to create your own, and now the 5 steps of what you need to put into that video for people to want to see and for people to want to share. So reminder, the 5 steps to great videos is number 1, Captivate. Number 2, communicate your introduction. Number 3 is actually deliver the content in a structured framework way. Provide context or what that means to them as a home buyer or a home seller, and then tell them what you want to do next. I don't want to overcomplicate it because what's simple scales. What's simple is what you can execute on. So take those 5 steps on the matrix, fill it in every single time, leverage those 90 headlines, use the 10 steps to create your own, and I promise your video views will explode.